Hello? Hello?
Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
I said, give me a hell yeah!
Hey, this is Veda Zay.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Talent is not sexually transmitted.
You need to go back to the drawing board because your game absolutely sucks!
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I'm Lewis Howley. I'm Sam Spoker. We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the star, the NXT UK champion, and you're listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You are watching and listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Romoran, and Chino Liao for another live stream on a Thursday evening. Wala pa rin si Roma. ASH still on his academic break, but an advanced happy Halloween to everybody, wherever or however you're celebrating Halloween. Obviously, di kami nakiride this year because none of us are in costume, but we're gonna do our best to try to keep the spirit of Halloween alive as we break down the week in wrestling. How's everybody? Thank you so much for joining us in the comment section on Kumu. If you're catching the audio-only version on Spotify, thank you so much. Hope that your Thursday or your Friday has been kind to you. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating, by the way, on Spotify in case you haven't done that yet. And please make sure to subscribe so you get all the updates from the Wrestling Podcast feed. Oh, Rose, si Kyle, binabati niya yung gun show na dinala mo.
Baka makakuha pa tayo ng more diamonds this way, you know. So
is that our idea of thirst trapping people now?
No, I was really too lazy to put on a t-shirt.
Yeah, so apparently
hey,
Glendale, he's not cosplaying Max Caster.
If it gets us more diamonds, then it would have all worked out.
Ikaw, Chino, anong attempt mo at a Halloween costume?
I am going to dress up as an updated wrestling watcher.
Gawa tayo ng meme yung costume yung costume set na yung meme.
Yeah, that meme.
Although I don't know what wrestling fan,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so clearly hindi kami Halloween themed for this year. Maybe in a few years pag pumatak na sa Halloween yung Thursday live stream.
I mean, nakakatakot na yung real world di ba? Kailangan pa ba natin mag-pretend na nakakatakot siya?
Yeah, so, I mean, parang lagi may nagbabadyang crisis or like war or whatever, so... Anyway, we got a lot to talk about, and we already gave you a teaser on social media about the things that we're discussing for tonight. But let's start by inviting you once again to be part of our patron program. We've got a couple of new patrons. Really big thanks to everybody who's really become part of this growing wrestling podcast patron community.
Yeah, Lance said it best. Halloween costume, a really scary one, is bills to pay. We got bills to pay. So if you want to support us and join a couple of watch parties along the way, all you got to do is support the podcast by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/wrestling podcast. For as low as $5, which is around 300. Pero bumaba niyo yung dollar yan.
Uy, buti naman.
58 na siya compared to 59. But yeah,
a peso is a peso. Diba?
Yeah, exactly, diba? So for that amount, you get to join our Crown Jewel watch party, which we will now do sa gabi kasi mas masaya that way on November 6th, Sunday, and also tawag doon Full Gear, then War Games, which is also coming next month. So a bunch of shows happening in November. You can be a part of that by subscribing to Patreon. You get access to our Discord community where we talk about a bunch of stuff, wrestling, sports, fashion, TV shows, movies, memes, a whole bunch of things. And where we also do watch parties, you get exclusive access to our review content, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Rampage, pay-per-views, PLEs, all of that. We talk about it. We review it. We also get merch. You also get merch. Putting a pause on our t-shirt line for now. We won't push it as much, but if you want to buy a shirt, that's also fine. For now, you get face masks. And malapit na Black Friday, we're also preparing. We're gathering the merch we want to buy from places like WWE Shop AEW, Pro Wrestling Tees, even Suplex, maybe a bunch of other stores as well. So if you want to be a part of that pasabay, you can be a part of the Patreon again. Subscribe to patreon.com/wrestling podcast. The link is there, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please support us if you can, if you like what we do. Yun lang naman.
Yeah. Sa akin ko lang sinabi ni Ro about the PLEs. For Crown Jewel, it starts at midnight Philippine Standard Time. So midnight ng November 6. So walang tulugan, Master Showman tayo on November 6 for, those of you joining the watch party. All right, let's start with some news outside the ring. And this one is pretty big because we didn't add this until like a couple of hours ago. And ang bali-balita, rumors and innuendo say that Triple H is reportedly softening towards this interest, or medyo nag-open na yung possibility daw na baka i-bring back nila si CM Punk to WWE. I don't really know anything about this other than what I read from WrestleVotes. So this is pretty huge kung totoo. What do you guys think about this? Because this is not something that was on our bingo cards as recently as last month or 2 months ago.
Yeah, see, WrestleVotes though, so he kind of gets things right a lot of the time. So I won't discount this just yet. Also, it's not that surprising because Triple H is a businessman and he's also the businessman. So if he wants to pull a Vince and reconcile and rebuild bridges with CM Punk, then it's kind of hard to disagree with that. Pero a lot of other things are in play here. One is that Punk is a liability for now. Like, it's not good business sense to bring back a guy who will likely not be, fully into it again, especially when he left it so negatively a whole bunch of years ago. And it's only a matter of time before he blows up again, unless he is super happy somehow. The second thing is related to that. Punk doesn't even like Triple H, so why would he? I don't think he would consider this, even if they paid him a whole bunch of money to do it. Because they paid him a whole bunch of money to go to AEW, and he still didn't like it either. So what's to stop him from, being toxic here?
Ikaw, Chino, do you want to see Punk back in WWE?
I do, because I remember. Okay, medyo complicated din yung sagot dyan sa question yan. Because while on one hand, you remember CM Punk making a name for himself during that time of WWE history, there's another more recent history that says Punk is problematic, diba? Dun pumapasok yung issues na nakakuha niya backstage, why he had to go, why they're trying to buy out his contract. So medyo complicated situation pa rin siya. Also, WrestleVotes also said in that same article na hindi pa final yung buyout. They're still trying to figure out the non-compete clause dun sa buyout deal na ginagawa ngayon ni CM Punk, which means that if this rumor actually has legs to stand off, AEW can easily cut the legs right out of that deal and mahirapan sila kunin si CM Punk ulit. However, if Punk does end up in the WWE again, let's all remember that this is a different landscape now. And yung mga kasabayan ni CM Punk dati, halos wala na din sa WWE. Diba? It's been a good 7 years. So I don't know what the backstage is like back then and right now. Pero at the very least, yung mga wrestlers na naabutan niya, halos wala na din eh. Diba? 1 or 2 faces still stayed behind, but that's about it. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of dynamic they can get if indeed matuloy itong deal na to.
That's a good point that you brought up, Chino. So I'm going to throw the row here and ask, do you think Punk can hang with the WWE roster of today if he were to actually return?
Yeah. He did just fine with the guys at AEW. So wala namang big difference from the guys in AEW and the guys in WWE. In fact, you might even say that mas aligned siya dun sa guys sa WWE kasi they don't go as crazy as the guys in AEW. So maybe the guys in WWE also listen more than Hangman Page does. So I don't think hanging in there is going to be a problem for him. I just really would like him to stop calling himself the best in the world, because he is clearly not at this point. Not even Chris Jericho is the best in the world at his age. So there's that.
Yeah, people in the comments, medyo mixed reaction. Some people are cool with the idea of Punk going back to WWE. Others saying that maybe he should stay away, maybe he should just retire and ride off into the sunset. If you're listening to this on the audio-only version, let us know what you think at Wrestling2X Pod on TikTok and on Twitter. Do you guys want to move on to the next one, or may gusto pa kayong sabihin about the idea that Triple H might be open to bringing Punk back?
Let's talk about Larry real quick. Apparently, the injury set Larry in Brawl Out. He had to have a couple of teeth removed. As a dog owner, having teeth removed isn't like the worst thing that can happen to a dog. Pero I kind of wonder what happened in that fight that nadamay
pa yung aso eh.
Baka siya talagang kumagat kay A-Steel or whoever. Diba? Baka siya talaga.
Kenny
Omega. Oh. Diba? Baka sinasabi lang natin si A-Steel and calling him a bitch, tapos yung aso pala talaga kumagat. We don't know.
I don't know about you, Chino. No one on the podcast used that word on A-Steel.
I did.
Anyway.
So,
all right. Anyway,
now, so wala na siyang magagawa.
Yeah.
Saying hey to Tanichi, who sent us halo on Kumu. What's up, man?
Thank you.
Oy, salamat, Tanichi.
You are now a regular on Kumu, so welcome. Thank you for being a part of our family. So thank you for supporting us.
All right, sticking with the news from outside the ring, may bali-balita rin that Hell in a Cell is reportedly done as a PLE. So this one's also making the rounds right now. Ang bali-balita is that Triple H, who's running creative in WWE, reportedly doesn't really feel like gimmick pay-per-views have a place anymore in this era of the WWE that we live in. So what do you think about this one?
We talked about this a while back during one of the live streams about gimmick pay-per-views place in current wrestling diaspora, I guess you could say. And for me, I like watching the gimmick pay-per-views, yung mga Extreme Rules, yung mga Elimination Chamber.
But the TLC?
Right? But the TLCs of the WWE. Kasi I like that kind of action. But however, gets ko naman na minsan pilit na siya eh, diba? There are no stakes sometimes when it comes to a Hell in a Cell. Just look at all 5 of Shane McMahon's Hell in a Cell matches, diba? Parang sometimes wala silang business being a Hell in a Cell match, but they just had to happen kasi nandun siya sa calendar. So I get why why Triple H feels na kailangan baguhin yung whole wrestling pay-per-view calendar wrestling PLE calendar ng WWE kasi kailangan nang i-update and I remember seeing something a while back on TikTok about how the WWE is going to try and bring back a lot of the older one-shot pay-per-views, so we might get to see Evolution again, which I am excited for kasi yun yung one pay-per-view na nalungkot ako na hindi na naulit ulit. It's like Vince just threw the ladies a bone and then yun na yun. So sayang naman, sana maulit yun, sana totoo yung nakita ko sa TikTok. And sana makakuha pa tayo ng more quality pay-per-views out of this change.
Yeah, sakto. You guys know, if you've been listening to the show for a while now, I hate this. I hate gimmick pay-per-views, especially Hell in a Cell. Kasi pilit na pilit yung Hell in a Cell. They just got lucky about when they had Seth versus Cody on this year, kasi that started at WrestleMania, and then it so happened na naglanding siya, tumayinig siya sa Hell in a Cell in June.
93rd match.
But otherwise, for a lot of the other matches in its around decade-long history as a pay-per-view, it really hasn't banged the same way. So good riddance, Hell in a Cell. Let's hope that the others go away as well. Also worth bringing up, as part of this update, Meltzer has also brought up the fact that they are considering bringing back King of the Ring as a pay-per-view. So the only reason why Vince McMahon got rid of it in 2003, I believe, was that hindi na raw siya pumapatok as a big pay-per-view that draws ratings. But it's clear everyone misses King of the Ring. People like the prestige of having the King of the Ring tournament. As someone who didn't really grow up with it and miss out on it, after the Ruthless Aggression era, I kind of want it back. It's weird that they do that on SmackDown and Raw. I would really much like to see that, and then give the King of the Ring winner, the King of the Ring, the actual king, a big prestigious prize like a championship match. Diba?
Sana hindi siya stupid British accent for like a year.
Yes.
So makakalimutan na natin na king pala siya. Diba? Yeah. Sana it's like sana it actually has some gravity to it.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, to be fair, King Corbin didn't have the accent.
No, I mean,
but yes, he's an outlier. Kung pagbabasihan mo yung 9 other kings of the ring, diba? Even Xavier Woods tried to pull off an accent nung nanalo siya.
Yeah, I remember.
Diba parang hindi siya, wala siyang gravity. Parang it's just parang yung British monarchy. Diba? King ka doon, pero wala ka namang power. So parang gets mo yun, kailangan may gravity talaga siya eh. Kasi to me, that's what makes it special, diba? That's what would make me care about the King of the Ring. Kasi kung Britishan ka lang for like a year and a half, then I don't really care for it.
I remember going through my Wikipedia of the old King of the Ring pay-per-views before we became fans of Wrestling Row, and I didn't really like how the entire tournament happened during the pay-per-view. So I think if the King of the Ring were to become a premium live event, I would rather just be the finals of the King of the Ring and the Queen's Court. Yun lang.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the matches leading up to the finals, you can make it take place on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, or you just do the semifinals and then the finals pay-per-view. Yeah, you no need to have the whole thing on there.
Oh, nakakasuya din yun, diba?
Yeah, it's also a bunch of short matches as well. So I'm sure Triple H can find a way to update it for the modern wrestling fan.
For sure. So let us know what you think about the idea of King of the Ring becoming a premium live event for 2023. And while you do that, our last bit of news from outside the ring concerns one Machine Gun Carl Anderson and how he's in the news because of a double booking situation. So we found out over the last couple of weeks that the Good Brothers are booked for Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. That's on November 5. So it's going to be the OC versus the Judgment Day in a 6-man tag team match. But apparently that same weekend, may booking din dapat si Carl Anderson in New Japan where he's supposed to defend the Never Openweight Championship. Medyo magulo na to because now New Japan has come out with a press release regarding the double booking situation. Sina Anderson and Gallows also did their own little video on Twitter, although I'm not sure which bit of that video is kayfabe and which one is a shoot. Di natin alam. So I guess let's start first by breaking down the specifics because ang sinabi ng Fightful Select in their report this week was that New Japan was already aware of the Good Brothers going back to WWE as far back as August. So dun palang alam na nila na freelancer yung situation in Gallows and Anderson, and yet Anderson was still given the Never Openweight Championship, which led to this situation we have here. So I'm going to start with you, Ro. Is anyone at fault with this entire situation taking place?
Yeah, see, Uncle Carl is at fault here because he already knew. He was already booked. They already booked that match before they came back a couple of weeks ago on Raw. Everyone knew that there was a title defense happening on November 5 on that Battle Autumn show. So there was really no reason for him to suddenly prioritize the Crown Jewel booking just because mas maraming pera ang involved dun. He gave his word, man. In wrestling, you do as much as you can to keep your word when it comes to these other bookings, especially when you get signed to a bigger company. As much as possible, the bigger company will let you finish up these bookings before you fully commit to them. So they could have easily worked around the fact that they had to do a 6-man tag at Crown Jewel versus Judgment Day. Like they could have just postponed that to War Games, diba? So talagang may kasalanan dun si Carl and may karapatan si NJPW na magalit. Kasi they were first. They booked it first. Even though they knew that they were coming back to WWE, they didn't know when that was going to happen. It's not like, I don't think they knew exactly when. And if they didn't know that, they wouldn't be able to make that booking. They probably wouldn't have booked it as well. So parang honor the commitment is all I'm saying. He had to honor the commitment.
Ikaw, Chino, how would you rectify something like this? Because it's not every day that we have a situation like this where a wrestler who's now regularly appearing in WWE is all of a sudden double booked with another big promotion.
Oh, interesting yan. Kasi we just saw Carl Anderson on TV, diba, for the WWE. I'm going to side with Ro here and say have him honor his NJPW commitment. Make the thing on Crown Jewel a handicap match. Extend the feud a little bit more para lang magawa ni Carl Anderson yung unang inagreehan niya, because at the end of the day, man, he's only as good as his word right now, and sana ma-rectify na to in a civil manner, because this could also affect the potential NJPW WWE relations that we were so excited about a few weeks ago. So hopefully hindi to makasira dun sa forbidden door, quote unquote, that's being built on that side of the world. However, gets ko din na at the end of the day, si Carl Anderson lang talaga yung makakasolve ng problema niya eh. Because he was the one who agreed to the bookings. Diba? It's not like NJPW did this on purpose. Nauna sila, in fact. So I'm going to say he has to honor the booking, and WWE can give a little creative leeway so that he can do that.
Yeah, it's very weird that this all went down, because when the Good Brothers came back a couple of weeks ago, niretweet pa ng NJPW World yung tweet ng WWE. So all of us were thinking, wow, is there a potential working relationship here, since Carl Anderson still never openweight champ? And then, fast forward to today, where it seems like there is an actual conflict of interest because of the double booking. So wait and see tayo kung anong mangyayari. And I'm with you, Chino. I do hope that it gets resolved to a point where relationships between these two companies aren't strained at all.
Yeah. At that point, when they retweeted that tweet, syempre di pa nila alam na Carl wasn't gonna decide to, not honor his booking for November 5. So, it just doesn't drive you crazy just how fast the night changes.
All right. Thrown off on sa One Direction reference na yan. All right. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk about some stuff that happened on Raw, SmackDown, and we'll be breaking down Halloween Havoc. But first, let's hear from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia. Let's get to some shoutouts over on Kumu.
Tanichi says, hindi na relevant yung King of the Ring tournament. When you say King of the Ring, he still thinks of King Booker. Yeah, that's kind of old. I mean, the last prominent King of the Ring was really Corbin and then Woods. So, yeah, maybe they can make it a little more prestigious again. Yeah, thank you to everyone who was watching on Kumu, saying hey to Nick, Cabales, everyone else. Please keep smashing those hearts. Please keep sending us stickers if you can. We are at 1,500 likes and counting. And yeah, just let everyone know that you like the wrestling talk on Kumu.
All right. Let's go to Raw. And the show closed with a wild card addition to the women's roster. Okay, fine. Not really an addition, but a wild card return, because Nikki Cross, when we last saw her on TV, she was partnering with Doudrop. She was still doing the ASH thing. And then they were kind of arguing to the side right around the time that Dexter Lumis was beginning to pop up backstage. And now all of a sudden, wala na yung ASH gimmick, wala na yung mask. Nikki just interfered in the Bianca Bayley main event. First, she interfered to help Bayley, and then at the end, she attacked Bayley. So I guess the question on everyone's mind is, what is Nikki Cross's deal right now?
It looks like a return to the sanity gimmick. I think Doudrop, Roman J brought up Doudrop as well. I think a repackage is also coming for Doudrop. Pero syempre, inuna na si Nikki Cross. I guess they realized that the Nikki ASH the character was mishandled by Vince, and now it's not really going anywhere. Okay lang. My bigger problem with the women's division is that everything is revolving around Damage Control. Like they're starting to lump a lot of the women on Raw in the same segment. Nah, even Candice, who debuted at first separate siya. Tapos ngayon nasali na siya sa Damage Control feud. And now Nikki Cross is also nasali sa Damage Control feud. So that's my bigger problem. It's possible to write other stories that don't involve Bianca Belair and Damage Control here. So I'm hoping that one day we'll get more than one prominent women's story on Raw, and that would involve Nikki Cross as well.
Is that a problem for you, Chino, na all of the stories seem to be revolving around damage control? Because to me, it makes the championships feel more important, because if it revolves around damage control, it shows you na everyone's angling for the tag championships or everyone's going after Bianca because she's the women's champion.
Teka, gusto ko lang i-call out tong si Kyle. Tinatanong niya kung kailan daw drop ni Rowan yung ASA.
Well, he has to come back from leave first.
Yeah.
Oo nga. And shake off the pod rust.
So the ball is in his court. Anyway, I don't have a problem with that because the Shield also had that same scenario when they all had the titles, diba? Dumating din sa, granted, mas malaki yung pool ng men's roster kaysa sa women's roster. But I honestly don't have a problem with tama ka, Stan. I like it when people are actually gunning for titles. It turns the sports entertainment towards the sportier side of things, diba? Kasi gusto mo maging champion, gusto mo manalo, want to be on top. So that part I like. I don't get, however, why they started just retconning Nikki Cross all of a sudden. Parang feeling ko out of the both of them, mas kailangan ni Doudrop yung retcon. Kasi yung siya talaga, hindi siya nag-pick up at all ever since her debut, diba? I honestly feel na mas maganda sana kung inuna nila si Doudrop for that fresher face and not keep Nikki Cross as Nikki ASH, but still give Doudrop a little bit more of the rub.
Then again, you could argue that Doudrop, as she was being presented over the last, I guess, half year before she disappeared off TV, was pretty much Piper Niven. Nagkataon lang na Doudrop yung name niya, but she stopped doing this. She didn't have that bubblegum pop theme song anymore. So it really was just Piper Niven under a different name.
Pwede din, pero at the same time, mas madali mong i-retcon yun eh. Kasi dito sa whole 180-degree turn ni Nikki Cross, because Nikki Cross and Nikki ASH are two completely different people.
I get what Chino's saying. Hindi ko rin gusto yung Doudrop. Like, I would much rather they changed Doudrop's name first and went back to Piper Niven before doing something with Nikki ASH. To me, kasi no, I like the Nikki ASH gimmick. I thought that was salvageable. It's just a matter of, do you want to salvage it enough? But that's just me. I do agree that both of them do need to be rehabbed. Pero one can be rehabbed in a different way than the other. And I think Doudrop was a force waiting to be tapped properly. And I'm a big Doudrop fan and big Piper Niven fan. So I kind of get where Chino's coming from. I do want them to make her a big deal first.
I'm also a big Nikki ASH fan here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, idea niya yun eh, di ba? Yung almost a superhero. And she came from the talent herself. So, maganda sana kung masalvage na yun because it's a very original concept. It's also a concept that has a lot of leeway in terms of story arcs. Di ba? Whereas this one, hindi ko makikita yung arc niya na baliw siya and then I have a hard time seeing the potential for it. Right?
Feeling ko na Triple H just like his original sanity idea and just went back to that kasi yun yung pet project niya sa NXT.
Eto, last point on Nikki before we move on. Wilson says, could this be a setup for War Games? Kasi kung heel si Nikki and if she, for some reason, sides with Damage Control after attacking Bayley, it would make for 4 heels against 4 baby faces in Bianca, probably Asuka and Alexa if they bring them back, and then Candice LeRae.
I don't know. I am not sure if this is headed to War Games because I think they wrapped up the Bayley Bianca thing with this. I think it looks like a transition to a new feud. I don't quite know where it's headed, but I do think that it's either Nikki versus Bayley or Nikki versus Bianca. It looks more like Nikki versus Bayley. So, buti naman may forward momentum na kasi we've been stuck in this feud since SummerSlam.
Maybe, I don't know, man. War Games right now is still pretty hard to predict, and I like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it kasi it's not as expected. So pwede ka pa ma-surprise eh. So I don't know if this does lead to War Games. It would be nice kung mag-War Games sila, but still too hard for me to tell.
All right. Sticking with Raw here, there's a secret that Johnny Gargano has been teasing over the last couple of weeks, and they've built it up to a point where it's gotten pretty intriguing. Now we want to know, ano ba talagang ginawa ni Miz? Bakit nagagalit sa kanya si Dexter Lumis? So, do you guys have any guesses, any ideas about what this could have all come from, or where this could all be stemming from?
This came out of the blue. No? Parang last week they weren't mentioning this, and then all of a sudden this week Johnny was everywhere, and then he was suddenly pressuring the Miz about this weird secret, so apparently damaging. I don't know. So I don't know if this was the plan all along, or was this a recent twist that they thought of? It does kind of feel weird, but I do admit that I am intrigued. Now gusto ko malaman ko ano yung ginawa ni Miz. I know what you did last summer vibes.
Yeah, it's entertaining to say the least. Although, hindi ko alam kung bakit si Johnny Gargano yung I guess they needed to give him a new feud, but
no, Johnny and Dexter are connected from the way.
Yeah. There's that. I think they have to mention that. They haven't talked. Yeah. They haven't really explicitly mentioned that on commentary or anything.
Yun nga. Because I forgot about it. So parang hindi sila. It's relying again. It's a thing that we've talked about here before, way back. It's relying on the fact that people should know their shit coming in, which alam natin na sobrang tagal na nun, people might have forgotten it. So that to me is where the problem is in the story. Kung hindi nila ma-explain mabuti na ito yung nangyari before, and then they're using it as a building block to push the story forward, then it'll be a little confusing. However, because pinaalala niyo sa akin, nagets ko na. But what about everybody else who's watching the story?
I'm sure NXT, at least in the AEW Dark.
No, I think Johnny is gonna talk about it when he does do the big reveal. But he's gonna do that next week or something.
Yeah. He was teasing it. He was teasing it as lumabas si R-Truth, which was still pretty funny. I like that part. Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah.
So yun yung next chapter for next week. Johnny drops the bomb. It's also interesting how Ciampa is also still involved here because he is aligned with the Miz, and then syempre, but there's that history with Johnny Gargano. But he is injured, and after Gargano referenced it on Raw this week, Ciampa confirmed on Instagram that he had to get surgery on a nagging hip injury, which had been causing him pain in his back and in his glutes.
Yeah. Kawawa lang kasi laging injured si Ciampa, but it's Triple H. He'll be fine when he comes back.
Yeah. Ciampa is a vet. He's been doing this, 15, 20 years? I think, your body's bound to really suffer some injuries at some point.
He is no spring chicken, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, let's cross over to the Blue brand, and it looks like we met a different member of the Wyatt Six this past weekend, because the Bray Wyatt that gave that show-closing promo a couple of weeks ago was more like the real Wyndham Rotunda, diba? And then this version of Bray Wyatt that spoke to us from backstage in this very dimly lit corner, he was talking about causing pain and how it was coming, and it's coming soon. So what did you think of this turn towards the creepy, especially as spooky season gets underway, Chino?
I like it because I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan. However, I'll be honest, I'm still a little perplexed where they're going with this character. Kasi, and I guess it adds to the mystique of Bray Wyatt, this return, diba? Kasi they can't present him as straightforwardly as they used to anymore. They can't just book him as a monster. They can't just book him as a cult leader now. It has to evolve from that, so that the character is updated with the current happenings. Diba? So I guess, it's interesting. It still has me hooked at the very least.
Yeah, it really is the Sensui gimmick or the split gimmick, however you want to call it. And I don't know if we're going to be meeting a different member of the Wyatt Six every week. Is that the way to go, Ro?
Assuming na ito nga yung nangyayari, then okay lang. I do want to meet all of the personalities. It's like it's like meeting a new cast member every week. So I want to see them all. I want to see who this Uncle Howdy is.
Sana lang if they're really gonna go double down on DID here, they do it classfully, gracefully, instead of using it as a story arc. You know what I mean? Like, kasi parang it's a little diminutive for somebody to say na, okay, may DID pala siya, yun lang yun, diba? Parang it's a disease, diba? So parang kailangan nilang i-address yung fact na yun, other than just using it as a plot point. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's not medical DID. Maybe it's just, a supernatural version of it na
sinapian.
Sinapian siya, I guess. Yeah. That it's not schizophrenia. It's just something that Bray Wyatt has because he's possessed or whatever.
It's kailangan siya exorcise at the end.
Maybe there's a mystical explanation that he has for it. So baka magiging sensitive naman siya to those with mental issues.
Yeah. I'm with Ro here, and I'm also super excited na, makilala natin yung other members of the Wyatt Six. Kung dito nga talaga papunta because, Bray's been teasing the whole Wyatt Six kind of thing din naman on social media. So, if all of these are to be believed, diba? Baka doon na rin naman tayo papunta. Yeah. Right, let's stick with the Halloween theme and talk about Halloween Havoc, which was the premium live event we got over the weekend. Big picture stuff, guys. Did you like Halloween Havoc? Did it move the needle for you? Let's start with Ro.
Do you have the new sound effect?
Yes, I do. Would you like me to play it now, sir?
Yes, please play it.
Okay, so Ro has a word to describe Halloween Havoc.
And that word is man.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was okay. That main event, the triple threat main event, was really good. Ladder match was really good. Everything else, it felt like the NXT version of Extreme Rules, the pay-per-view, the premium live event. So it was just aight kasi napilitan silang mag stipulations for all the matches, and I don't quite like that. So especially Apollo Crews being N-word taker, so that was weird to me. So I liked it when they were just straight up wrestling in the ladder match and in the triple threat. So that was the best parts of the night for me.
Yeah, it didn't really move the needle for me, which is a thing that happened. It was enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable. I mean, tama si Ro, maganda yung main event. But it wasn't as, kumbaga, it didn't surprise me as much as I expected it would. Diba? So it was there. It is wrestling. It happened. That's, do I have to see it again? Is it one of my top 5? No.
Can we highlight Glendale's comment here? He felt sad na walang Theory cash in. What's the purpose of the cash in tease last week on NXT? The purpose of the cash in tease was really just to add more star power to the NXT episode that went up against Dynamite last week. So that's pretty much it. You can say na mema talaga siya, but it did get the people talking, so it kind of worked.
Yeah, and we are getting more main roster stars going back to NXT, but just for a cup of coffee, to have a quick feud or to have a match or two. We saw that with R-Truth this week, but si Shotzi, we had that with Nakamura and everyone else last week. So I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that. Sayang lang because all of us did get excited about the idea that Austin Theory might actually cash in for the NXT Championship, and that didn't happen.
That to me was like the thing I was looking forward to the most. Just hindi nangyari. I was like,
Yeah. Agree.
Pansinin naman natin yung mga dubber gods ni Rongwa na nagsa-speculate about the new gimmick that Rowan will come back with when he drops ASH. Pabalikin muna natin yung tao, guys.
Yung gimmick na gusto ko for Rowan, kasi I want him to graduate already, is, Dr. Rowan Camacho, DMD. Like,
That's
right. That is the man's dream. And when he becomes a dentist, I will, happily be his client. Kasi, bigyan natin ng business yung ating Dabber Cuts. That's the gimmick, guys. That's the dream for him. That's what he is striving for.
All right, let's talk about Wesley here, and let's congratulate the new North American champion. Well deserved. He was on our short list of contenders, actual contenders for the North American title. So good for him, having a bounce back latter part of the year, especially after how, his March, April, May, it really turned his world upside down.
Yeah, good for the wrestler formerly known as Desmond X. I have been a fan of this dude since Lucha Underground, and I like how they have given him the strap. They're really trying to reboot everything here, trying to put a new face towards this division, and I think no face would be better than West.
Yeah, There's a new running joke that the North American Championship is the N-word something. I forgot what the A stands for, championship. And I'm all for it, I think it's a nice bounce back for the Wesley character because he's been through so much. Naging emotional pa nga sila ni Shawn Michaels after the match.
Yeah.
Deserved naman. Wesley has been turning in some pretty good matches, especially with the young bucks of the NXT roster. He's usually the better consistent performer when he goes up against the rookies. So I think he deserves that accolade. Melo can finally move up. His spirit is free to reach the light of the main roster. I think it's about time then. Well deserved naman. So let's hope that. Well, a whole bunch of guys in that match deserved to win, but I think Wesley deserved that the most because of what he went through over the past year or so.
Yeah, gusto ko lang balikan yung binanggit mo, Ro, about the North American Championships history. Like half of the 17 people who've held the title, or the 14 people rather. Yeah, there have been 14 North American champions, but like half or more than half of them are actually black. From Carmelo Hayes to Keith Lee, Ricochet... Swerve.
Ricochet is Latino.
Oh, he's I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Thank you for correcting me.
Ricochet's not black.
Leon Ruff, Wesley. So, yeah, Velveteen Dream, all of them are black. So, like, half the list of North American champions are black guys. So, there.
Yeah, good for them.
That explains the running joke. All right. Yeah. Let's go to the Schism here. And we had a very interesting reveal for the fourth member of the Schism, and that was Ava Raine. And she also made history in the process as the WWE's first ever fourth generation superstar. What did you think of this reveal, Chino, given that you actually saw how her dad made his debut in the WWE way back when?
All I'm gonna say is let's go bloodline. Let's go. Call her up. Let's go.
Alam mo, yeah. May point si Chino kasi at first they wanted to distinguish Solo Sikoa as being different. That's why they didn't really name him as an Uso or an Anoa'i. And then Bloodline din pala yung
pupuntahan niya.
Yeah, diba? So it's only a matter of time, guys.
It's only a matter of time.
I mean, if you're gonna make Ava Raine a part of the Bloodline, you might as well bring Naomi in there as well. Give them a women's tag team rep.
Yes, okay, that is a good point, but a separate point. Kasi si Ava Raine is still in play. So, feeling ko, pwede nilang gawin dito. Call everybody from the Schism up, have them feud with the Bloodline, tas matatalo lang sila because Ava Raine turns on them. Right, that's like a fantasy. Kasi mangyayari yan eh, di ba? Why book The Rock's daughter to be part of a stable when the stable really hasn't done anything? Na parang still pretty mid-card level-y yung stable na to. Maybe they try something different here. Maybe they try and go for a title shot or whatever. Diba? Have them have some gravity to their team. Pero at the end of the day, I feel like this is just a mechanism to give legitimacy to their first fourth generation talent in the WWE.
Ro, I gotta ask you this because she's a legacy, diba? Like, she could have just debuted as Simone Johnson, but they had to name her differently. They had to christen her Ava Raine. Did you like this move and the move to put her in the Schism instead of shipping her directly to the Bloodline directly?
Yeah, a lot of things. Let's put up Lance's comment here. Ito yung point talaga eh. So, I didn't mind Ava Raine changing her name. I didn't mind her being part of the Schism. Anything that saves that group from the midness of Joe Gacy is okay with me. Yung Ava Raine thing, whole gimmick thing, they learned from the lessons of Rocky Maivia, which I said on TikTok and a whole bunch of places. Kasi, diba, Rocky Maivia, they debuted him as a legacy character. Very clearly on the nose legacy character. And I think that they kind of veered away from that. If you notice, guys like Bailey Matthews, what's his name?
Charlie Dempsey,
yeah. Charlie Dempsey, Ariana Grace, who, if you don't know, is the daughter of Santino Marella. You would have never known from the way they presented her.
Solo Sikoa.
Sikoa, yeah. So they learned the lessons. If you ride on, except for Dominic Mysterio, they didn't learn that lesson there. If you ride on the name of your ancestor, if you're your parent or grandfather, grandparent, you usually end up a lot better in wrestling, in the business. So okay to. If they debuted her otherwise, if she is very clearly, the daughter of The Rock, people will see right through it more than they saw Ariana Grace as the daughter of Santino Marella. So if they did that, if they didn't give her this different gimmick, then I think she might have gone down the Rocky Maivia route.
I wouldn't say right away na just because someone debuts as a legacy character, automatically they're gonna have a mid run. I mean, look at Randy Orton, diba? Randy Orton wasn't like mid right away.
No, I'm not saying that they will have a mid run. I'm just saying it's possible, and I think they also learned the lessons from her father, talaga. So you can't just go in there be a smiley Anawai.
Yeah.
Or Johnson, or Maivia. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You're strapping her, if you do book her as a legacy, you are strapping her with the weight of being The Rock's daughter. The man who goes by the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Si Black Adam.
Ang laking pressure nun to be able to live up to that. People are then going to expect the same level of promo work, the same level of bravado that The Rock projects dun sa anak ni The Rock, diba? Just like we expected that same level of flair from somebody like Charlotte, diba? Kasi for the longest time, sabi niya, anak siya ni Ric Flair, that's her whole thing. Right? So, yung ganong amount of pressure, I don't think is beneficial to somebody as fresh and as novice talent as Simone, aka Eva Ray.
I get what you guys are saying here, and I think those are all valid points, especially the fact that we don't want to pressure young Simone Johnson into bearing the weight of Dwayne Johnson's name. But we're also the same podcast that said last year when Braun Breaker made his debut, why aren't we calling him a Steiner? He looks like a Steiner, dresses like a Steiner, has sirens like a Steiner. Why isn't he a Steiner?
Good point. So yeah, touche.
Touche.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, pero at the same time, yung ganong klaseng booking, again, I'm gonna bring back Solo into the mix here. Hindi siya Solo Sikoa, diba? But they also booked him as an Anoa'i. He's part of the bloodline now. Diba? So parang, yes, but it also benefited Solo because they established his character before they brought him into the fold. In the same way that Braun Breaker was established as Braun Breaker before they started mixing him with the Steiners and the cameos that the Steiners do and involving his dad in storylines and whatnot. So feeling ko, meron siyang limit that whole booking family member into your character has its limitations. There are certain ways that it can succeed, but those ways are very, very limited.
I'm going to say that I'm just going to fall back on the Rocky Maivia argument. I think they were really traumatized as a company by that, even on the Rock side by that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was also the Rock's suggestion na wag siyang maging Simone Johnson, diba? So I wouldn't be surprised if he told her to find a new name. I think there's a whole bunch of generational trauma from that moment, from that debut, from that run. So that's my argument, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, The Rock hasn't even congratulated Simone yet on social media.
Wala pa siyang tweet.
Yeah, so baka he's kayfabing it, brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, congratulations to Ava Raine, Simone Johnson. Still a good moment. While I did point out the inconsistency naming tatlo, I actually do agree. I think it is good for her to be called Ava Raine, and I like the subtle nods and references during the Schisms promo na she was trying to find her identity. She wants to find her own family, kaya siya nasa Schism. So there is still bits and pieces of it there, and you gotta appreciate the NXT audience for knowing who she was from the moment she took off the mask.
I mean, she looks like The Rock. Come on. How can you
Some other people might not have known. Casuals would not have known.
Pero yeah, if you know, you know.
Diba? Pero tama to si Lance. Ang ganda ng stable nila. because these guys are all legends in their own right. And
yeah, that's true. That's fair.
And for that to be
the GYV is carrying that group single-handedly.
Yes,
double-handedly.
Yeah, those guys are doing really good work, I gotta say.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we've got some AEW business to talk about from inside the ring. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia. Time for us to get to the audio-only part of this week's podcast. And ladies first tayo, let's start with Rhea Ripley. And this week on Raw, she was a GIF. She was viral on Twitter because she body-slammed 290-pound Luke Gallows. And we have to start hoping that this will pay off in some way, right? Like an intergender match involving Rhea Ripley. Kasi para saan pa na she's manhandling all these men?
Yeah, if you don't do the payoff with a match happening, then what is it all for? Because if they can't touch her because she's a woman, and despite the fact that she is obviously comfortable being very physical with the men, then parang ang weird nito. So you're right, it has to leave there because and I do hope that it opens the floodgates for other women wrestling men. It's not a unconceivable thing. We do that here all the time, and the indies do it all the time in the US, in the UK. So it's just a matter of people finally accepting that this isn't exactly the same as domestic violence. Diba? Intergender matches happen because the women consent to it, because it's not, a totally impossible thing.
Tsaka if you understand the wrestling mechanics, you'll know that these guys are safe workers, especially at this top caliber of talent. Diba? Kasi WWE to, so dapat professional ka. Diba? So it's not like nagsasapakan talaga sila for real.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this current generation of females needs their present day, their modern day China here. Diba? A dominant female that other females can either be afraid of or look up to, because China in her own, I don't know if this might be before you guys, but China in her own right held her own against guys. She was the first female intercontinental champion. She was also just the person to break down all these barriers. Diba? And yes, I agree with Ro here that while I don't fully agree with Ro here na kailangan lahat ng babae versus lahat ng lalaki all the time.
Hindi naman lahat, pero that's not, kasi I saw this in the mixed match challenge na when they do intergender tag matches. This is this weird rule na, okay, when the man tags out to the woman, dapat babae na yung kasunod.
Yeah.
Pero they do this weird thing na, okay, the woman gets to attack the man, but the man can't attack the woman because special rules, diba?
Yeah.
Special unwritten rules. So that's just a huge logic hole to me.
Yeah, gets ko naman yun. Well, yes, gets ko yung part na yun. I still feel like si Rhea Ripley na yung dapat mag-take up ng mantle na yun. Eh. This dominant female that can break down barriers and divisions and gender stereotypes.
Hey, I hear what you guys are saying, and I actually agree with a lot of your points. Ang tanong ko lang, coming from the WWE side, how do you pitch that to advertisers, especially those who are more traditional in the way that they think? Kasi dito nga sa Pinas, we had a hard time getting advertisers to give the local promotions sponsorship money, yung mga networks to justify TV time. What more in the US, where WWE had to really clean up the product, get rid of the blood, diba? Go from TV-14 to PG-13 to get more sponsors. How do you now tell these same family-friendly sponsors na, oh, hey, we're gonna have intergender matches now, when they don't get the concept na, but they consented to it. But these guys are safe. These are professionals. How do you justify that with people who don't understand the business, but whose money that, they really need or want?
Honestly, sorry. Go ahead, Chino.
Gusto ko lang mag-pitch and say, feeling ko dapat hindi mo ang kawawa yung babae. This is like the most important thing to remember here. Si Rhea Ripley, hindi siya mukhang kawawa.
Yes.
Far from it, diba? Far from it. So, if you're going to involve an intergender match where the woman is painted as an underdog against a much larger man, then it's a different story. But when you look like Rhea Ripley, tapos kalaban mo yung mga Zelina Vega types, syempre mo ako Zelina Vega. In that same vein, where Rhea Ripley, who is almost as tall as Luke Gallows, is able to body slam him. So parang important din na nakita mo na level playing field siya eh. Diba?
So you're saying na someone like Zelina or Alexa Bliss or Roxanne Perez can never be in an intergender match?
Hindi naman sa ganon. Pero gets mo, important din na hindi sila mukhang kawawa in that situation. Advertisers need to believe that this is a legitimate match that can actually happen without it looking like na inuupakan lang nila yung babae. You know what I mean? You see what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. To me, I just say, just do it. Just do the thing na just don't make it look like napilitan yung babae na
yun
na mag-wrestling sa lalaki, makipag-away sa lalaki. Kasi if action shows and movies can have a girl fighting a guy, diba? What's the difference? Kasi it's sport, because it's portraying sports. It's supposed to.
Baka it's the idea na parang it's kayfabe. Not everyone still gets the idea of kayfabe.
It goes back to what Chino says na wag mo kang kawawain, diba? Wag mong mukhang non-consensual. Like, have the women be active participants.
Yes.
Don't make them helpless. Don't make them look like they were coerced into fighting the men. Empower them. They don't have to be as big as Rhea or Raquel, diba? Just have them stand on their own 2 feet and just do it. Because you're never gonna get them to understand it if you don't start doing it, diba? It's a matter of setting the expectation. Because if they did that with China and the whole bunch of other guys that China wrestled, then what's to stop them? Because they set that agenda with China, so they were able to do it. May political will sila, and just do it, and then see that they do it well. Let them see that they're doing it well, and I'm sure that eventually the tide will turn.
Yeah, I would argue pa nga na mas dangerous pa, and I say this with air quotes, when Lita was getting involved in the TLC matches at WrestleMania. Na, guys like Rhino and Spike Dudley were actually getting physical with her and throwing her onto ladders and stuff like that.
Yeah. Diba? And that was the height of the WWF. Diba? That was the peak of their popularity. And so they were hot property at that time. So there's no reason that they couldn't, set this agenda of these empowered women being able to be competitive with the men.
Sticking with the women here, let's go to NXT real quick and talk about Elektra Lopez. So she's back. She's a single star, clearly no longer affiliated with Legado, and this is all after she and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro left NXT alongside Santos Escobar. So ito yung clear aftermath of Legado showing up alongside Zelina Vega on SmackDown. What do you think this means for Elektra Lopez, Ro?
I would love to see them explain why bigla siyang pinababa ng kotse. after leaving NXT, diba?
Yeah.
Baba ka na.
Diba? That's kind of sad.
I get lang pala siya.
I get why they did it, but it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't think that she was experienced enough. I mean, so again, more reps down at NXT. That's really what it needs. Really, more reps. Let's do this. Let's get her better. I don't know how they're gonna explain it. If they are gonna explain it, they probably won't. And I hope that she gets better, because I do like her. She brings a nice look to whatever roster she's in, and I hope that this setback is, a good thing.
A setup for her comeback.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Ikaw, Chino.
I mean, I hope they explain it first and foremost. I hope
so too.
Clear it up. Kasi it desperately, if they're just gonna act like nothing happened, parang ginagawa nilang tanga yung audience nila.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes,
so,
agree.
This new era of Triple H understands, this new regime of Triple H rather, understands that hindi tanga yung audience nila, and they will demand answers. And hopefully this returning Elektra Lopez is able to provide those answers. And again, yes, kung more experience yung kailangan niya, more seasoning, then all for her, then go for it. Kasi it can only benefit.
All right. Let's talk about the men now, this time on Raw. Elias also made a comeback. last week, and this week we saw him get in the ring against Chad Gable, and made difference ba from the Elias that we saw and kind of started getting too used to, and this Elias that came back post Ezekiel.
It does look like he is wrestling the way he did as Ezekiel, so that's pretty cool. It helped that his opponent was Chad Gable, who was really good. So there's that. I hope sana magpatuloy to kasi I thought the Drifter gimmick, the Troubadour gimmick, was kind of limiting. So I hope that he gets to achieve more things than what the original version of Elias had a ceiling with, diba?
Yeah, I mean, you want the guy to get work, diba? You want the guy to get stage time. So, good for him. Tama naman si Ro. I can see what Ro was trying to say when he said he was wrestling like Ezekiel. I do still like Drifter gimmick though. I don't know where this goes for him though. Parang nandun siya sa weird reintroduction point ulit since matagal siya nawala.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting if they can really sustain this different angle to Elias.
I mean, I trust this regime. I trust this creative team and their storytelling. So I think naman masusustain yung momentum ni Elias, and I don't think we're gonna see him hit a wall anytime soon. At least I'd like to hope so. No. Eto, over on AEW, we got a news story that's been brewing for a couple of weeks now, and it's this tension between Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta. So it's kind of weird to see guys on the same team fighting each other. It's not the first time we've seen it happen, but for a group of baby faces like Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta, where all they really want to do is fight and make each other better, biglang ito nagka-beef na sila. So what do you make of this, Ro?
This is really interesting. If it weren't for the fact that they kind of didn't drop the ball, pero didn't really fully commit to Daniel Garcia, I'm kind of wary of this. But it's nice. It's a nice wrinkle. They're doing something with Wheeler Yuta, so they're kind of doing the same thing for him that they did with Daniel Garcia. That they're adding more depth to his character. So there's that. They kind of put him on the back burner for a while after he joined the BCC. So I would like to see where this goes. Medyo nag-recycle na sila ng feuds here, but whatever works. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Ikaw, Chino, pabor ka ba sa mga ganito, yung mga intra-team feuds?
I mean, didn't they try to do this with Daniel Garcia before? Tapos na-work.
I mean, they've been doing it. It's like the inner circle.
Diba? So parang, again, bumabalik tayo dun sa earlier point ko na Tony Khan needs a new bag of tricks, man.
Yeah.
However, I do like that they're giving Wheeler Yuta a little bit more depth here. But Tony Khan you gotta rework that playbook, boy. It's getting old.
Baka kailangan lang niya ng team of writers.
I think he does,
maybe that's what solved it. Yeah.
I think he does, but he doesn't really listen to them too much. Like, I think he still is proud of the fact that he is super smart, that finally has his own sandbox of wrestlers to write about, yung mga ganun.
I mean, he's got way more zeros than all of us combined sa bank account niya, so I guess he can do whatever the hell he wants, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. There, that's going to do it for our audio-only portion of the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next stream. May greetings pa ba tayo on Kumu?
Yeah, just saying hey to Scamageddon, who has joined us late again. Sorry, man. Pero glad you could make it, man. Medyo...
Like how you have to call him out for being late.
No, kasi nakita ko yung pangalan niya. No, kasi last time he said he was late. So he's late again. So kasi he apologizes for being late. Our connection is bad on Kumu, so I hope that people there are still getting this just fine. Pero keep smashing those hearts. We are at 3,400 likes. Please keep sending us stickers if you can. Please keep supporting and letting everyone know that you like wrestling talk on Kumu.
All right, let's talk about that turn on AEW. Sobrang bilis, parang kaka-debut lang ng The Firm, and now they have turned on MJF. What's happening here? Ro?
People are calling this a red herring. If our patron Emil was on here tonight, he would say that it was a red herring. Now that they mention it, I'm kind of inclined to think so as well, because all of this could be just a ploy for MJF to make us let our guard down and then he's gonna turn heel all of a sudden at Full Gear. So the thing here for me is that if it is a red herring, then it's gonna look so bad again. Kasi one, they just did this with Daniel Garcia a few weeks ago. After teasing a big face turn, diba? And then they're going to do the same for MJF, who also has a huge organic base of support from the crowd, who wants to just really cheer for him and see him do his thing like The Rock. So it's the second straight time that Tony Khan is playing with people's heads and feelings. So I know Chino doesn't think much of him anymore. And if this does happen the way I think or the way I fear it's going to happen, then I'm going to be inclined to agree with you here.
Yeah, Tony Khan does not know what he's doing. He's just like, again, babalik tayo dun sa Charlie Day meme of him writing on a chalkboard. Yun siya eh. Parang kala niya genius siya eh. Kala niya kakaiba yung nagawa niya. But he's just going back to the same play. And then if it doesn't work, magtataka siya. Because he doesn't know why people don't understand kung bakit hindi nila gusto yung product niya ngayon. He doesn't understand why the things don't work out in his favor anymore. It's ridiculous at this point, honestly.
Aaron says, are we just going to believe that MJF is suddenly honorable? I mean, like, character development. Hindi naman bawal ang character development sa wrestling. Like,
hindi naman siya honorable per se. He's still a dick. It's just that people like the way he's being a dick now, kind of like The Rock.
He is also displaying some character growth, if we are to believe it. Diba? He got called up by William Regal. He suddenly decided to cash in ahead of Full Gear. So those things are evidence of some growth happening if it is true. So it's not impossible. Diba? If Triple H can, be open to the idea of CM Punk coming back, then character growth, character development is not impossible in wrestling.
Ako, honestly, it doesn't do the character of MJF justice if they keep making him do this. Face ako, di pala. Because it's the same thing presented over and over again. And it doesn't allow the wrestler behind MJF to show more of his depth. Diba?
Yeah.
So parang kung ako si Tony Khan, kung gagawin mong face yan, gawin mo ng face. Huwag mo nang sabihin na face ka pero hindi pala, because it's the same thing. We've seen it before. We want something else.
Ro, I know you said that MJF has this organic support for him to turn babyface, but as a really deplorable heel since his debut in AEW, I'm still waiting for that moment of comeuppance, and I feel like MJF hasn't had it. Yung parang talagang he'll hit rock bottom and then people will start organically feeling sympathy for this guy for him to turn babyface.
Didn't that really happen when CM Punk beat him? Diba?
Did people really feel sorry for him? Because people were still cheering for Punk and people still liked Punk.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't feeling sorry for him, but he did hit rock bottom, diba? So, I don't know. Parang wasn't that like a turning point for him? He left for a while. And diba? He got destroyed by Wardlow pa, diba? He got destroyed by Wardlow, then he left for a while. Then when he came back, people suddenly love him again because they missed his really entertaining promos.
I guess you could say that. Yeah. Siguro mas traditional na comeuppance ang hinahanap ko na he really gets humiliated, really he got humiliated has egg on his face.
That was like 2 times he got really he took huge L's, diba? I think that was enough for fans to suddenly, or hindi naman suddenly, but to get behind him again.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I'm going to repeat something I said a couple of weeks ago. Na I just really don't think we can buy MJF as a babyface yet. Maybe yung anti-hero lang siya talaga. Because he still does, still does dickish things like the John Moxley mocking, making fun of Renee Paquette, diba? All of these things that you wouldn't expect your traditional babyface to actually do.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a full, clear-cut, goody two-shoes babyface. Hindi naman suddenly good guy like John Cena. It's just, Black Adam, an anti-hero.
Yeah, feeling ko it's like more, hindi naman Black Adam, but more towards The Rock, diba?
Yeah.
The Rock still trash talks, diba? The Rock still trash talks, but at the same time, he's also still a face and people still cheer for him.
True.
Kasi feeling ko may ganung potential si MJF. He's that part of the pun, electrifying.
Let's acknowledge Julian's comment here. Credit to Renee Paquette for not breaking character and just really reacting well towards MJF during that entire interview. I really love Renee's addition here.
Can we credit Renee Paquette for being the most take no shit backstage interviewer that they have? Like, not even Tony Schiavone gets that kind of sass and authority over the rest.
Yeah, she is the Mackenzie Mitchell of AEW. I still think Mackenzie is the gold standard here guys, because she's been doing it for longer than Renee has in terms of like taking no shit from people. But yeah, I would say Renee sets the bar in AEW for sure. Like, if we did a power rankings of their interviewers, Renee's clearly number one, then Schiavone, Marvez, and Lexi Nair can all have a triple threat for number two. All right, let's talk about the Elite being teased on AEW kanina. There was a quick little vignette, mga 30 seconds, where parang natathanos sila out of AEW. And I think this is the first indication we have of the Elite finally coming back since the incident at Brawl Out.
Yeah, inacknowledged na sila. So it probably means that they're about to come back soon. So I guess they won in that kerfuffle.
Yeah, clearly they're not fired.
Punk doesn't get to go back yet, so they get to come back. So I guess they win. You know.
I don't know. I would be congrats. May trabaho pa rin sila, but does it really solve anything?
I don't know.
Diba? Yun lang yung point ko eh. Yes, good for you, Elite. You're still there. But does it really resolve anything? Diba?
I mean, what do you want to resolve, Chino?
I mean, nag-update ba sila dun sa kaso? Diba? Did they get... Are there going to be repercussions for their actions? Since involved din sila.
They lost their titles, dude.
Yeah, that's a big repercussion, I think.
I don't know. It's just I'm just not a fan of things just going back na parang walang nangyari.
No, we don't know that yet. We don't.
Hindi naman klaro.
So
I mean, they could be bound by legal issues, diba? Kaya di pa nila pwedeng i-disclose.
Yeah, pwede, diba? I mean, I might be jumping the gun here. Diba? So if the Elite come back, it'd be good for them. It's just, I want to wait and see what they have to do first.
Good point here from Roman J. Now, it would be awkward if and when the AEW video game comes out and CM Punk is front and center.
Well, they have time to change the packaging, I think. We don't even have a release date yet. So,
yeah.
Pwede pa rin nampatan yung graphics.
Then again, it could be a Kyrie Irving situation from NBA 2K18 where he was in a Cavs jersey but he'd been traded to Boston. So, that could also happen.
Wala pa namang set release date. So it's not like NBA 2K that comes out every September, diba?
Yeah. Any other thoughts that you guys want to talk about from this week's Dynamite?
We'll cover it in the audio only portion where we talk about a whole bunch of assorted topics.
Yes.
All right. So we have a lot of other stuff to talk about in the audio only. If you're catching us on the live stream or on Kumu tonight, then we're going to talk about Rhea Ripley, Elias, Elektra Lopez, and this Blackpool Combat Club beef. In the meantime, it is time for us to get to our picks of the week. You guys know the drill. Tigi-isa lang for everybody. Pati kami. So I'm going to start with mine, and my one pick is that NXT segment where Wesley opens up about the North American Championship. Out comes Grayson Waller, and then it goes off the rails when R-Truth came out because I was highly, highly sports entertained. Great stuff. I love R-Truth.
All right, my pick of the week is Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson. Siyempre, a whole bunch of fun. You can hate Sammy Guevara, but I can't deny that guy is fun to watch in the ring, unfortunately.
My pick goes out to Black Adam. It's not as bad as the critics are saying.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Hey, it was fun. I liked it.
It was pretty fun. I liked it as well.
Kasi it's being critic bombed. So parang review bomb. There we go. So I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So go see it. I mean, mag-iiba na daw yung face and power structure ng DCEU. Hopefully it is true because I am a DC fan. But yeah, go see it if you have time.
Yeah,
I mean, superhero movies.
Yeah.
It is still a superhero movie, so there will be some cameos that'll make you pop. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the comment section. Julian picks the Bray Wyatt promo from SmackDown. Leo picks AEW Claudio Castagnoli one-man show. Albert picks R-Truth's TV time. Admin Angelo, ganun din, R-Truth. Aaron picks, that one NXT fan for dodging Von Wagner's ladder.
Jesus Christ. It was so easy to avoid, Di ba siya marunong magtanggal ng ladder?
Sobrang natakot ako for that fan.
Yeah,
tita pa siya.
Yeah,
she was a tita. I'm like, oh my
being in the business, the one thing you need to follow is to not hurt the fans at all. Like, dude, watch out for the fans.
Natakot ako. That could have been a lawsuit. Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
All right, moving on. Emil picks Ren Narita versus Ishii from NJPW. Bruce picks Mustafa Ali versus Austin Theory. Roman J agrees with Black Adam. Glendale, yes, Liv Morgan getting her Chucky kill moment. That's a good pick. Sa Kumu, meron ba?
Yes, Zanichi picks the kabayan that flexed, that showed the Filipino flag every 10 seconds. A Dynamite salute to you, sir. Lupang Hinirang intensifies.
Yeah, it's not even the first time that the Philippine flag has been very much visible on an episode of Dynamite. Like the two Arthur Ashe Stadium shows that they've held, there's been a Pinoy there. So I don't know what is it with the Pinoy fans that attend Dynamite, but good for you, I guess. Uwi naman kayo para ma-experience yung tunay na Pilipinas.
You don't know if they're an apologist, but representation, they just want to be acknowledged, and we like the people acknowledging, the Filipinos on the show.
Yeah. Ito, last pick of the week, Nikki Canillo picks Ate Shotzi hosting Halloween Havoc for the second time. That was a lot of fun. Sobrang creative then that she actually had 2 costumes for a 2-hour show or 3-hour show. So good for you, Ate Shotzi. All right, any plugs as we get out of here? Chino, what's going on in your end?
Yes, so a few things. I have a new episode out of the Class Clown podcast. My guest for this week is professional race car driver Milo Rivera. So talk about all motorsports things. Also, I have a show this Saturday, October 29, Eagles Point Metro Walk. That's where it is. Oktoberfest with me, GB Labrador, Andred Bernardo, a bunch of others amazing stand-up comedians. But really, the thing that I want to put out there is that my first hour is available on video on demand. thecoolpals.com/stand-up comedy. You can find it there for as low as 350 pesos.
Wow.
Yun na, may one-time viewing na kayo, and you get to see what I've been working on for the past 14 years. Kaya sana supportan nyo ako in that endeavor. For all of that, you can just check out my Linktree, linktr.ee/Chino Supersized.
All right, how about you, Ro?
Please read my articles on multisport.ph. I talked to this bodybuilder who qualified for Mr. Olympia. That's the highest level of competition in pro bodybuilding. He's the first ever local Filipino to make it. Please read that. And there's another big article coming up tomorrow. Please stay tuned for that. And please support local wrestling. If you can, please sign up for MWF's Gank page for only $10, whatever that's worth now. You get access to the recent episodes and future episodes of Action Novela TV. And also, if you haven't gotten your tickets for Noche Buena happening on December 11, you can get that now at tickettome.net. Not only do you get access to Noche Buena, you also get access to the next Action Novela taping happening on November 16, I believe. I believe that's 14. Sorry, 13. But 13 is the date. Getting my dates mixed up. Yeah. Also, please follow us on TikTok at Wrestling2XPod. We have been churning out content that you are likely to be entertained by. So please support us as we try to become TikTok famous.
Yun. For me, all I'm plugging right now is the radio show first thing in the morning on 99.5 Play FM. We're giving away a lot of prizes every week, and it's really the first time na every week may giveaway kami. First time in my 12-year career that I'm experiencing this, so I want to share that with you guys here on the podcast. If you want to win mga concert tickets or whatever we have up for grabs, then go ahead and tune in 7 to 10 a.m. on weekdays. All right, on that note, we're going to head on out of here. We'll catch you again next week for another live stream. Thank you so much to everybody who caught the show, whether it's the audio-only version or here on Kumu or on Facebook. Maraming salamat. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify and follow us individually at Monday Night Rowan, at Chino Supersized, at Rowiswar, and at _Stancy. Huge thanks to Babyface producer Mike for displaying the slides here behind the scenes, and to the rest of the Podcast Network Asia team for all of the work that they do. Thank you to our patrons, listeners, subscribers, and streamers. On behalf of Romaran and Chino Liao, my name is Stancy, reminding everyone to stay safe, keep your masks on if you want to, and get your vaccines and boosters if and when you can. Wrestling Podcast out. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Happy birthday, Nikai.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Nikai.
Happy birthday, Nikai.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.